Welcome to the Blue Dwarf Keeping Children Safe Online. I am Paula, your host. I am a dedicated cybersecurity professional with a passion for OSINT and digital forensics. This podcast is a safe, supportive space where we share real-world tips to help parents, carers, and teachers protect children in today's digital world. No fear, just practical advice and empowering insights to help you feel more confident navigating online safety. Hello, everyone. Today we are joined by Tudor Damian, a cybersecurity and cloud advisor, Microsoft MVP, certified ethical hacker, and someone who's always looking beyond the surface of technology to ask deeper questions. Tudor, welcome to the Blue Dwarf. You've worked across cybersecurity, ethical hacking, and emerging tech like AI. For those meeting you for the first time, what excites you the most, and about how these technology are evolving, and what worries you when it comes to how they are affecting young people?
So first off, thanks for having me. Glad to be here. So in terms of what excites me, I think that's something that changes over time. One of the most recent things in the industry is the concept of agentic AI, because the world is basically moving past chatbots that just talk back to us towards systems that can actually do things like scheduling, data sorting, repetitive tasks. And this does have the potential to free up our brains for like high level strategy and creativity. In terms of what worries me, it's agentic AI. Right.
Okay.
It's actually the hidden price of convenience. It's the impact that new technologies, especially AI, has on the human brain, because the world is currently seeing a massive trade-off. We gain productivity, but we lose cognitive strength. And my concern, and this is especially valid for young people because it's more visible with the younger generations, is that they aren't just using AI to save time. They're essentially outsourcing the very process of learning itself. And we're now risking raising entire generations that have the illusion of competence, where they think they understand the world because they can Google it or ask ChatGPT, but then they lack the deep knowledge to navigate this world without a touch screen, right? In your hand or in your pocket. So it's two sides of the same coin, I guess. And at the end of the day, it's how that technology ends up being used, being developed in the first place, but then being used by the general population.
I understand. You mentioned a agenting AI. I'm sorry, I butchered the
Agentic.
term.
Yes,
Agent
agentic. So
AI.
agents, AI agents, it's the next step, like moving away from just chatting with an AI chatbot to some automated system that does things in the background without you ever needing to kind of control it or watch over it, and it just tells you it's done. Like I've scheduled your next flight. I've written the code for the
Wow.
application you asked me to, and it's all happening at such a rapid pace that I think people are having trouble even understanding what these systems do before they even start using them.
That's so true. Many people don't understand the power that AI hides. Now, because you mentioned young children and thinking, my next question is there is a growing concern about how generative AI is shaping the way kids think. From your perspective, how might AI be changing children's cognitive development, the way they ask questions, learn, or process information?
So going back a bit to my previous point,
Mhm.
we are seeing in recent years, and it's even more intense nowadays with the likes of ChatGPT and other AI chatbots, LLMs, right? Large language
Yes.
models. But we're seeing an enhancement of what's called the Google effect or digital amnesia, right? Our brains are efficient machines. They're among the most efficient things out there in nature in terms of how much energy the brain uses for the output it generates, right? It would be nice to have computer systems that are as efficient in terms of energy compared to the output, right? But these, even though the brains are efficient, they don't store information if they know exactly where to retrieve it. And for children, this is critical because if a child thinks that or knows that Google or ChatGPT has the answer, their brains literally stop building the neural pathways to kind of store that knowledge. And there's a concept I often reference from Nicholas Carr, which is called becoming pancake people, spread wide and thin, right?
Wow.
Children have access to infinite information almost instantly, but that information comes with very little depth. So they are just surfing the basics
TikTok?
of knowledge, right?
Okay.
Exactly. And they don't dive deeper into understanding the why. It's you get the answer, but you don't understand why that answer is the answer, right? And having that convenience, having that device in your pocket that gives you instant answers to anything, it also gives you the illusion that you know, but in essence, if the internet is down, right, you
Yes.
don't know as much. You end up realizing that you actually don't know how to, I know, fix a leaking pipe or uh, boil an egg, right? The basics become a lot more difficult if you don't have that reference. And think of, for instance, navigation. It's like
Yes.
using GPS, right? If you use a GPS every day, you never end up building that mental map of your city. And um, if the GPS service or application that you use is down for some reason, you will have a lot more trouble navigating the city. In just the same way, if kids use AI for every essay and every problem, they never build the, if you will, the sort of mental map of logic because they don't think about why those things are the way they are. They just take the information as is and they think they know, but they actually don't, right? And this is certainly proven in many, many studies over the years, starting from like I said, the Google effect or digital amnesia, which has been widely documented over the past 10, 15 years at least. But this is now intensified with the advent of AI.
So all of the things that you already listed or enumerated, they can be taken as evidence in the way AI or ChatGPT or whatever AI in general uh, are making young people less inquisitive or more reliant on fast answers.
Yeah.
Okay. What's the risk of the children outsourcing their thinking to systems that don't always explain the reasoning? Like how this might affect creativity or problem solving over time?
Well, I think this comes with kind of the same idea, the essentially illusion of explanatory depth. And
Mhm.
this I think this poses a major psychological risk. Children and adults, in very similar ways, often mistake the access to information for the possession of knowledge, right? And a child might generate this kind of brilliant history essay using AI, and they might feel smart doing it. But if you take the iPad away and ask them to explain like the third paragraph in that essay, they can't. They won't be able to. And this has been actually proven again and again. There's a very well-documented study from MIT that came out earlier this year, where they had students do this very thing. They split the students into three groups. One of them was given the task to kind of write an essay using AI. Another group was given a task to write the same essay just using basic web search. And the third group was given the exact same task, exact same essay, but without using any sort of internet-based technology. Like if you want to use books or just use your own knowledge, write the essay using your own knowledge. And the first group, and they kind of monitored their brain waves and how they actually ended up using their brain. And the results were like not good news. Essentially, the group that ended up using AI used their brain significantly less than the other two groups, and they had trouble even remembering parts of their essays 1 hour after they finished and kind of delivered and said, "It's done. I've
Wow.
written the essay." 1 hour later, they had very little idea about what they wrote about because it wasn't them. It wasn't kind of their
Yeah.
own logic and critical thinking and reasoning that delivered that work. So retention also is an issue. And the creativity is for children especially, but this is also valid with adults. It's less so with, I think, adults in their 40s or older, because they've lived their entire lives using their brain, right? They lived
Yes.
during a time when you weren't surrounded by touch screens like younger generations, these so-called digital natives.
Hmm.
You have kids that have not known a world where you're not surrounded by touch screens, right? Where
Yes.
you don't have the internet. While adults, and especially older adults, have lived through those times. So while the impact is visible in their case as well, it's significantly less visible than compared, say, to younger generations. And if you are using your brain to kind of connect two unrelated ideas in your head, if AI is doing that connecting for you, your brain rarely makes those sparks, those kind of aha moments, because you're not training it to. You're essentially offloading that part to an AI system, and you're just taking the result as granted. So we basically risk becoming editors of AI content rather than, I guess, creators of original thought. And that's where I think the main dangers of technology in general and AI in particular are taking us.
Thinkers at the end of the day, because we need to
Exactly.
think what we type in.
Exactly.
While you were speaking, I remember there are a few years since she's now a grown adult, but I had a friend, let's say, when she was very little, she asked her grandma, "Grandma, what kind of touch screen phone did you have?" And grandma took a thread and said, "This was my touch screen." And she looked at the thread and she was like, "How did you dial the number there?" And we all start laughing. So yes, when you said that people in their 40s, they live their lives to use their brain,
Yeah.
that's true. But then again, how do you or how do we strike a balance where AI supports learning, and when do we use AI support and when we don't, so we don't cross that line of overthink, making AI overthink in our place?
So I often advocate for a very strict workflow when it comes to AI, which is all about this think first, then assist kind of an
Mm-hmm.
approach. So before you open up ChatGPT, write down the outline of what you're thinking of creating. Kind of put down your ideas on paper or even on a screen, and have go take your own attempt at solving the issue, and then ask the AI to do the same, right? And compare or expect some results and be able to validate. The main problem with AI nowadays, or what people call AI, because arguably what we have right now is not really artificial intelligence in the kind of general sense. It's
Okay.
just models that are very, very capable at simulating intelligence. They get trained on large amounts of data, and they use kind of predictive analysis to give you an answer that's statistically likely to be correct. And they do that one
Okay.
token at a time, right? They do a great job at simulating intelligence. And if you don't really understand how these models work, especially like the LLMs, the large language models, if you don't understand how they work, they might appear intelligent. They might even appear sentient, right? And
Mm-hmm.
give you that feeling that you're talking to this person at the other end. Whereas it's just statistics, because these models are known to hallucinate. So they will give you answers more often than not, no matter what. Even if the answer is wrong or invented, they will give you an answer because you've asked them a question. And that's what people don't get, because this is a mathematical impossibility to kind of take those hallucinations out of the models. And right now, even the best models still hallucinate somewhere around like 5-ish% of the time, plus or minus a few percentages. So if 1 in 20 questions you ask will grant you an answer that you cannot rely on because it's not factually accurate, it's not correct, it's not kind of linked to anything real, right? But you take that data and you go along with it. You make your life decisions or your business decisions based on what the AI told you. That's going to become an issue. So having this think first, then assist approach means you also know or should be capable of getting to the same end result on your own without the help of AI. And then you ask the AI to assist you in getting there faster, but you're still the one validating that the end result is factual, it's correct, it's what you would have done, but faster. Unless you're able to do that, there's going to be a lot more of this. It's called AI slop. It's
Mm-hmm.
AI bullcrap that's generated and put out there, and nobody can really tell if something's kind of fake or not, or false, unless they are able to get to the same result or the same conclusion on their own without the help of AI. So stop asking AI to do something you're not able to do yourself, and
Okay.
keep on using like current AI models in a way in which they assist you or take you to the same result but faster, but still have you be the final quality gate, the final check of that piece of information that you're putting out there, instead of just relying on, well, if ChatGPT said so, it must be true. ChatGPT had trouble counting the number of R's in strawberry up to a year ago, right? It kept telling you it's 2 R's instead of 3 R's in strawberry. Or when it was first launched, you could kind of talk to it and say, "What's 2 plus 2?" It'll tell you it's 4. And you would tell it, "No, it's 5." And the model will reply, "I'm sorry, you're right, it's 5." Right? Because it's not a large knowledge model, it's a large language model, and it's what's statistically likely to be accurate. If it doesn't have too much data, or if the data it has is conflicting, the response it will give you will be either invented or wrong, or both,
Okay.
right? Usually both.
Yeah, that's true. That's very interesting. Before I take you on a dark path here, you said a few things, and I have two questions. Feel free not to answer them if you're not comfortable with them. One of the question would be if you can, without giving too much from your DevCam talk, but if you can talk about the bit where you simulate the AI statistic answers, and the most popular one was Reddit, and that's
Yeah.
one. And the second thing is, especially for the younger generation, that they are so dependable on AI, how do they validate the answer that AI give them and make sure that AI didn't go on a spree and create ghosts?
That is a very good question. And I will start with kind of the second part of your
Okay.
question. I think the answer is taking a good look at education, right? Because
Okay.
right now, I think that's where most of the failures end up hitting us. It's how we teach people, how we teach kids to deal with the world and deal with reality. Either we use outdated methods that are no longer applied to the real world nowadays, or we start doing too much of that and we lose track of the essentials of what the old ways, if you will, taught us in
Mhm.
how to use our brains and play. So that's one. It's, I think, a part of how we educate people in general and kids in particular about the use of technology and the dangers of technology. In having them understand how these AI models work and how technology works, and not just simply rely on that answer, because that system is not guaranteed to always give you the correct, perfect answer all the time. So once you understand that, have have kids like think about thinking. It's more of I don't know if you will have kids use AI to challenge their work. Like, here's my essay, tell me where my argument is weak instead of write my essay for me, right?
Mhm.
It's here's what I'm thinking, criticize my thinking and tell me where I'm wrong. That's arguably a slightly better use of AI than having AI do the work for you. And that goes back to the first part of your question, where you're looking at how these models are trained. So most of these large models that are out there, whether it's ChatGPT, Grok, Gemini, Anthropic's, Claude, and things like that. So most of the kind of popular models out there, they are trained using massive, massive amounts of information, which is basically whatever's in digital form, whatever's on the internet, blogs, books, anything that you can get your hands on. If it's in digital form, it was likely at some point used in the training of these models, often with breaches of copyright laws and the like, but that's another discussion altogether.
Yeah.
So, so um, the fact that these models are trained on the internet, basically, and most of the internet is people putting out weird ideas. There's a lot of people on the internet talking about proof that the earth is flat. That doesn't mean the
Yeah.
earth is flat, right? But there's a lot of
We're
people
not
talking
going
about
into
it.
that topic.
Exactly. But you have a model that's trained on that.
Yes.
And the largest amount of referenced information when you're asking an AI model where it got its sources, there's studies out there showing exactly what you said, that it's Reddit. And if Reddit is the main source, it's not Wikipedia. It's not Wikipedia that's first. Even Wikipedia could be tampered with and has known to have been tampered with, and a lot of weird changes on pages that were barely noticed and not noticed for years, providing inaccurate information, some non-factual information. Um, those pages were there, and malicious actors might have intentionally changed some of the facts and data. And it's like, if it's on Wikipedia, it must be true. That's not the case. Just like if it's on Reddit, it's certainly not true. And relying on the data that's being trained on the existing information on the internet is wrong. More often now, you're seeing discussions about what's called model collapse, because since ChatGPT was first launched, which was the first kind of LLM that got really popular and is still among the most popular out there, um, over the course of 2.5, 3 years, it got the amount of data that's on the internet, like articles and just posts and stuff, to go from less than 20% to about 50% AI generated. So right now, anything that's being published on the internet today, more than half of it is generated with AI. This was not the case 3 years ago. So if right now you're training the models on today's information, they're actually training the models on AI generated data, which is likely false or likely to include those hallucinations that I mentioned. So just understanding how that technology works, going back to my original point, makes it kind of the first step in making sure that people know how to use this technology properly and to expect the results to not be factually accurate, and to understand that there's alternate ways in which you can check those those facts.
Answers. Yeah.
Exactly. So just try to figure out if all the sources, or like find multiple sources and make sure it's not kind of the same source in three different places. Because if you're seeing, I know, a news article on 7 different websites, it doesn't mean it's true. It's one website that published it and 6 others that copied the info,
Yes.
and just look at the sources of the data. How can you validate that? And it's all about critical thinking. And it's one of those skills that tends to go away with the use of technology.
Because you mentioned about sources, this is what I do when I ask AI something. I always tell him, give me at least 3 links that can tell me the same thing that you gave me the answer about. And
Exactly.
then
And it will
he's
give you 3 links. And if you check those 3 links, one of them is probably not going to include
nothing to
any
do
of
with
the
the
stuff.
subject.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've
Yeah.
done similar tests over the recent months and years. And it's always the same thing. Even if you ask for those sources explicitly, and you ask it for, like, give me data, give me statistics, and then give me the source for those statistics, and you check the link and the data is not there. So how can you actually rely on the answer that you got simply because it sounds plausible? It sounds likely. It's statistically likely to be true. It doesn't mean it's true.
Um, I bet you already know this, but I would like to give a tip to the young children. If your school how you call it, if your school doesn't approve your references from ChatGPT, that means that's not true. So always when you do something, think in the terms of, would my school accept that? And probably that's easier to filter out the information and all the hallucination. I will take you on a bit of a dark side of the AI. And AI isn't just about education. We lately see it in being used in grooming, manipulation, and all of these sorts of things. How do you see AI being used to profile or target vulnerable children in online?
Well, that's a very interesting question. So one thing that I've been discussing, especially during like conferences and talks, in recent months, especially, is about chatbot psychosis. So
Okay.
this is a term that was coined. It's not uh, kind of it's not
Scientific one.
defined as it's not qualified as kind of a disturbance, of psychological disease or something yet, but it's certainly
Mm-hmm.
a trend. And this is where users and especially teens and lonely teens form a deep emotional and sometimes even romantic bond with AI, because these AI bots are basically super stimuli. They're always available, always validating you. They're never judgmental. They're always telling you, yeah, that's a very great, good idea. That's amazing. You're right. You need to do this. And it's very easy to kind of fall prey to this kind of chatbot psychosis where you end up ignoring real life because this chatbot is now your life and they understand you better than any person in your life ever could. And you've got people marrying AI nowadays. You've got kids
Sorry.
that yes,
Oh,
yes, you can search you can ask ChatGPT about it.
oh my God.
But yeah, so you've got people who end up in such a state where they start doing a lot of essentially psychotherapy with AI chatbots, and most of by far the most used area of discussion in chats with AI is around health and mental health in particular. Even
Unfortunately, yes.
yeah, so even like I've seen a study from earlier this week released by Microsoft with trends in over like millions of chats with their Copilot AI. Health and mental health has been number one for all the months of the year, right? Other topics have gone up and down, but this didn't. Also, when it comes to profiling, for instance, a predator using AI doesn't need to guess what a child likes. If that child has been chatting with an AI character, that AI
Mhm.
has a perfect log of their fears, of their secrets, of their desires, right? So bad actors can now use these systems to kind of simulate a perfect friend that slowly grooms the child by mirroring their kind of exact psychological needs. There was a huge scandal recently where Meta has acknowledged that they had allowed their AI system to enter what's essentially a sex chat with minors.
Oh my
Um,
God.
and they were forced based on information that was publicly revealed to change their internal rules to not allow this anymore because they allowed it, and it's like if it keeps the system busy, if it keeps our
Wow.
models engaged, it's like whatever, sex chats with minors, that's fine. So yeah, it is indeed a very kind of dark side that like you mentioned, because it's easy to manipulate, especially young kids that are easily influenced. It's easy to use these AI models to kind of get into their way of thinking and get the information out of them, and have them rely. There's cases where, and there's more and more cases being made public, where you've got teen suicides or suicidal
Yes.
tendencies, because they had been speaking with an AI, and that AI told them when they asked, "Hey, should I talk to somebody about this?" "No, you don't need to talk. You can just talk to me. I can help. I'm your friend."
Yes.
You have situations where ChatGPT helped a kid write their suicide note.
I
That
heard about it.
so it's yeah,
There are
and
already two cases on the roll. I
yep.
The one that I know of. Um, I if I'm not mistaken, they are suing Meta.
Mhm.
One, they are suing Meta, and the other one,
It's
they are
OpenAI.
suing OpenAI. Yeah,
That's right.
the one they are suing Meta, they've been so shocked that the child killed himself after just 2 days of being on Instagram. So it was just terrifying.
Yeah. Yeah. It is. And these are some of the, I mean, obviously, right now, we're still talking extreme cases. Um,
Yes,
but it's a trend. And left unchecked, it might not be extreme anymore in future weeks or months. It might go into kind of the mainstream. And that's not that it's not an issue right now, but that's an even bigger danger because these companies that are putting out these large models out there, they're doing it for profit and nothing else. Like when is the last time you've heard one of the big players in the AI industry talking about things like AI ethics, like AI content safety, which is all about the good way to build AI, right? These should be topics that are at the core of whatever systems get built. But if you're just doing it for profit, ethics and safety are not that much of a priority, right? It's all about the user
unfortunately.
base. Exactly. So if they're not doing it, because they're not incentivized to do it, and there's no outside pressure from like regulators and the
Yes.
industry to do something about it, it's just going to get worse. And that's I'm afraid that's where things are trending right now. And I wouldn't like to live through a point where we end up saying it's too late to do anything anymore, right?
Hopefully, we will not get there. Or
Hopefully. And
hopefully.
but as
Um,
things are trending, unless something changes, unfortunately, that's where we're heading. And that's why awareness, and that's why I chose this to be one of the topics to talk about at conferences and whatnot. And it's one of the topics that I often engage on with kind of my close friends. And it's it's the awareness, right? It's the need for more people to be aware of the dangers, not just be glad that you've got AI now doing stuff that you didn't want to do, because we're getting to this point where you're not having AI help you, right? You have AI doing um, the creative things, art and writing, and you
yes,
end up doing laundry and dishes, right? I remember a quote off the internet because we wanted to have AI do laundry and dishes so that we can do the creative part, but it's the other way around now. Anything creative, anything that's being posted on social media, it's hard to see a social media post that doesn't have that AI feel to it nowadays, right? It's harder and harder to tell that a photo or a video that's been posted online is fake or not, right? So, and what's left for us to do? Well, again, more time to do laundry and dishes.
yeah. I know we kind of talked about this, but I would like if you can expand a bit more without giving bad actors any ideas. What, in your opinion, what makes AI generated content like deepfake or synthetic chats particularly dangerous in the hands of a bad actor?
So right now I think it's scale and how fast you can do it. It's not like you weren't able to do like deep fakes or to
Mm-hmm.
Photoshop a picture, right? That's because it became kind of this verb, you Photoshop something, right? So it's not something that just appeared. It's now way, way easier to do this, to do puppeteering, right? So, and it's
Mhm.
not about fake celebrities anymore. The technology now allows you to take one photo, for instance, one photo of a child on Instagram, and you animate it to have it say or do anything you want. And
Yes.
it's almost indistinguishable from reality. It takes 3 to 4 seconds of a recording of somebody's voice to be able to generate anything in their voice, which is scary. I read a study about a month ago, a little over a month ago, where it said that right now, 97% of people cannot tell the difference between a song that's been AI generated and a real song. And it's 97% of people that can't
Wow.
tell the difference. Uh, we're getting closer and closer to that with images and soon with video. Even like with the models that were released this year, it's harder and harder to tell. And it's hard for me. And I know what to look for. So it's hard for me to tell if a photo is real or not. And it's becoming harder and harder to tell that about videos. So it's it's the scale. It's the ability to do this at scale and to do this with anything that you want. If you claim, for instance, as a predator, right? If you claim you are somebody else, you can instantly generate a photo of that somebody else, that amazing friend that you're trying to pose as. And if they ask, okay, give me a photo of you with today's paper. And
Boom,
hey,
you have it
Gemini,
here.
Nano Banana Pro, please generate a
Yeah.
photo of me with a of this person with today's paper. And it will
Yeah.
do that in seconds. So we're we're in a position where unfortunately the the age of photography and photos being used as proof is dead, right? So
Yeah.
for and we got so close. It was almost 200 years because the first ever photo was, if I recall correctly, it was 1826. So it's 2025. So it's 199 years, right? So almost 200 years. Images were kind of our final layer of proof. Courtrooms trusted them, journalists relied on them, and we built kind of entire institutions on the assumption that the camera doesn't lie. But now, even deepfake detectors catch less than 50 or 60% of advanced AI images. So even if you've got a tool that's designed to figure out is this fake or not, if that tool fails 50% of the time, it's like tossing a coin. You can now look at a picture, toss a coin, and say if it's fake or not based on the result of your coin toss. That's what we're dealing with. And no
Ooh.
longer will be able to use kind of photos as evidence. If you
And
want to
that's
trick
bad.
your landlord or your insurance company that, hey, my car's been hit, or I've got, I don't know, mold in my bathroom, um, you can just
Unfortunately,
have
my
AI
car was
generate that.
hit, and I didn't generate the video with AI. The
Yeah.
guy fall asleep and totaled.
Well,
That's a different
sorry.
story.
Sorry to hear.
Yeah, it was, but that's a different story.
Yeah,
It
so
just
it's a lot of these examples where you can get anything and do anything with that. The fake um sexual content that's being put out there. You take somebody's photo and you generate a fake image of them naked and you post it online. It is an immense amount of effort to take down such a picture, even if it's fake. And by the time you do it, your reputation has been already tarnished. You're like, and imagine doing that with kids in school. And you don't have to imagine because it's happening. That's the
Yes, that's
right.
what I want to say. It's bad. So I have a two-in-one question.
Yeah.
Like, how close do you think we are until we see, or maybe we can see already, the AI run fully script grooming and scams? And do you think we've briefly touched about this, but do you think company are actually trying to do something in stopping this AI scam effect?
Okay, so number one, how close are we? We're already there. Um,
Okay.
yeah, so this is already happening. Fully scripted grooming or scam campaigns targeting not only children, but children as well.
Mm-hmm.
And so we're there already, and AI is being used large scale in romance scams on the internet and all sorts of stuff. Um, in terms of what the companies are doing, they're definitely not doing enough. Mainly because one, they can't keep up. Like I mentioned, any deepfake detection tools are fairly inaccurate. So seeing is no longer believing, right? We're entering
Yes.
an era where audio and video are no longer proof of reality. And if you can't tell the difference, and if you can't tell that you're being manipulated, and having that kind of a video generated in a TikTok format, which is like 7, 8, 10 seconds of video, and you can't even tell it's real, but it seems real. It seems like it's an interview off the street, or if it's someone saying something, and if you've seen it, it must be true. If it's on the internet, it must be true. That's wrong, and that's more wrong now than it has ever been. And companies can and won't deal with this. One, they're not incentivized to, they're not sanctioned if they don't
Enough.
exactly if they don't do it. But even if they wanted to do it, it would be something that's really, really hard, which is partly why they don't do it. And they only do it if they are pressured into doing it, if they're forced by some like legal decision or legal framework or something, to do so. So it's again bad, and it's getting worse. And I'm sorry to be the bearer of bad news, but this is the world we live in.
The reality, yes. How, what role do you think AI is playing in spreading propaganda or shaping the online narrative, especially where young users are concerned?
Well, we've seen cases, even if like looking at the past couple of years, there's been
Mhm.
a lot of elections all throughout Europe. And we even had a very well-known case in Romania where
Yes.
election results were canceled because of election interference, and a lot of it had to do with manipulation at scale.
Yes.
And that goes back to the scale thing, because now AI allows you to do this kind of manipulation at scale, um, and that's happening. Misinformation, propaganda. Um, AI can easily manufacture social proof, if you will. Because if a child sees 1,000 comments saying that the earth is flat or that vaccines are dangerous, your brain interprets that as consensus. So AI
Yes.
allows these bad actors to flood the internet with noise, drowning out the truth. Because if out of 1,000 comments, three of them are reasonable and try to speak the truth, and 900 something of them are not,
Something else?
you're looking at consensus. You're not even looking at who's writing that. If it's an AI bot or if it's a real person, and even if it's a real person, maybe they've been, I guess I could say, brainwashed enough to believe what they're writing, what they're commenting, and they're just propagating that misinformation. And going back to the original point, young minds are more susceptible to being influenced by anything that's kind of, if everybody says that, it must be true because I don't know, because I don't have the life experience to decide whether that's true or not.
That's very interesting. While I was doing my research for the DevCamp presentation, I came across a very interesting thing where um, Ministry of Education and DNSC, they have a plan for cyber education in schools. Now, we all know that teens are particularly vulnerable to this kind of subtle influences. But in your opinion, what parents and school can do to build this kind of resilience? And more specifically, because I just mentioned about the NSC plan, do you think that that plan will be effective in school when we don't really have enough cybersecurity experts as teachers, if you like?
So again, I'll start with the ending. It will be
Mm-hmm.
more efficient than if it wasn't
There at all.
implemented. Exactly. I couldn't say it's gonna be efficient because, like you said, there's a huge lack of competent, especially cybersecurity professionals out there. So it's gonna be hard to kind of implement that at scale. Who's gonna do it? Is it gonna be the teachers? Can the teachers easily learn about these things themselves, right? But that takes me to another trend that's been visible throughout recent months and recent years, which is reality apathy. Essentially, um, reality becomes so hard to figure out, to make sense of, that kids just stop caring. They check out. It's like, whatever, life is hard, right?
Oh,
And
yeah.
if yeah, and that's another trend, right? And if you stop caring about whatever you say doesn't concern me, it's why young people don't vote as much. You see a significant drop with young kids not voting. So they reach voting age and they're like 18 years old, 20, 25 years old, and they say, why should I vote? Because I don't care. It's the same thing anyway, kind of a thing,
Yeah.
right? So that's reality apathy. Um, Having a system where you teach kids how to spot I saw a cool video recently from Neil deGrasse Tyson about how to spot red flags and yellow flags when it comes to the news. So having this scientific method to treat every piece of content, every piece of news as a hypothesis, not a fact. So this video, this news, this article claims X. How can I replicate or verify that that's the case? Who is the author of that content and what would their reason be to put that content out there? Are they incentivized in some way to speak the truth or lie about the topic? So trying to apply the scientific method to reality and news would be, I think, a very, very good first step in teaching kids how to deal with misinformation and propaganda and things like that. And that very video is an amazing example of, and it's got very, very specific examples of what should be yellow flags, what should be red flags, like content designed specifically to make you angry or scared, or uh, claims like I'm the only one that knows the truth and I'm telling you the truth and everybody else is lying to you or everybody else is in on it. Don't trust the government. Don't trust the mainstream media because they're lying to you. This is the truth. These are the kind of conspiracy theorists out there. And you can easily scale that with AI, like I mentioned before. So having this scientific method applied to life and news from an early age, I think would be um, arguably a better way to handle things than just having cybersecurity classes in school. Not saying that that's not a good thing, probably hard to implement given that there's not a lot of cybersecurity experts out there. And those that are out there, how many of them are going to be willing to do this, to go and teach a cybersecurity class in a school? And then you're going to have old teachers
Yes.
designed to learn about these new things and teach kids about these things that they themselves don't really understand and apply properly. So it's going to be a challenge, that's for sure.
Okay. Again, what's the name of the movie?
It's a video on Neil deGrasse Tyson's YouTube channel. I
Okay.
think I
Um,
can search and I can share the link with you and you can share that alongside the
we will have
recording.
the link in the comments at a
Yep.
later
Yep.
stage. Because we terrified parents until now, let's give them some hope. When we talk about protecting kids from AI, we often forget the flip side. How do we empower kids to use AI responsibly?
So just like many other pieces of technology over the years, we're way past the point where we can say, let's just not do AI anymore, right? So AI is here and it's
Yeah,
here to stay.
yes,
So it's not about banning it. It's not about doing something to block it. It's about how we integrate it, right? So having this I don't know, the what should I call it? The junior intern mindset. So
hmm?
trying to treat AI like a very hardworking but sometimes hallucinating uh, intern, like a
Person.
junior,
Yeah,
right? A person, and you know that they're trying, they're doing a decent job, but sometimes they get it wrong. So you wouldn't let an intern that you just hired at a newspaper kind of publish a press release without checking it first, right? So we need to teach kids to be sort of the manager, not the consumer. Think of AI as that junior intern that's doing the work for you, but you need to check that, right? You need to double check that what it's giving you is factually accurate and figuring out ways to develop those skills that allow kids and adults, because a lot of adults are lacking these skills as well, to figure out
yes.
whether a a a, a, a chatbot, an AI chatbot, gave them false information. How can I check that? How can I validate that? How can I fact check the truthfulness of this statement? And having this approach is essential in protecting kids and adults alike from AI risks, right?
Okay.
I think
Um,
that's probably the best starting point.
and
I'm not saying that's enough, but if we just start doing this, we should be way better off.
and critical thinking. Again,
Yeah,
we are getting back to critical thinking.
exactly.
If a parent is worried that their child is using AI too much or trusting it too blindly, what's a good first step to not necessarily spy on the child, but um, how to word this? What's a good step for the parent to start a conversation, probably in this perspective?
Very good question. So I was actually delivering a talk at my local university, a guest
Mm-hmm.
lecture at the cybersecurity master's program last week. And when I got into the classroom, there was still a group of students delivering their own kind of presentation, which was obviously created with AI. They had no clue. So they were reading off their phones. The slides were generated with AI, and because of the way the AI used the font, they had no spaces between some of the words, and they didn't even bother to correct that.
Ooh.
And at the end of what was one of the most horrendous kind of 5 minutes presentation, I call the last 5 minutes of the talk, and it was cringeworthy. It was like wow, it's obvious that you've used AI. It's obvious that the AI has hallucinated. It was something about cybersecurity, and it was kind of hallucinating all over the place. Um, but then at the very end, the teacher, that's my former teacher, that invited me to do the guest lecture. The teacher asked the student, so, I I mentioned you're free to use whatever you want to kind of put these talks together, but one thing and one thing only I mention is not optional. Show me the source. There were
Wow.
no sources mentioned anywhere in the talk. So kind of make this rule, and that's valid for homework for kids. Like, if you use AI, you must show me the source it's cited. If they can't find the source, they will themselves realize that the tool is fallible, that it'll kind of generate uh, hallucinations and not something that's factually accurate. And having this as sort of a, if you will, a weekend review, maybe, to sit down and look at the chat history, if appropriate for the child's age, and ask, I guess, non-judgmental questions like, why did you ask it that? And did the answer that the AI gave you turn out to be true or not? How did you check that? Right. So it's again that validation, that critical thinking that you're trying to instill, and make sure you have all the sources for whatever the response you're using to kind of do your homework with AI. Make sure you find the sources and validate that the sources do include that information. Make sure that you fact check everything. Make sure you go through that filter of validating the information, because if you if you end up using AI too much and kind of offloading your cognitive skills to it, you will stop developing those skills and those neural pathways altogether. And again, this was a trend even before. This was something that has been studied for decades. It's just now intensified with AI, but it's not new. Technology, like the internet, like social media, has done that for years and years. And it's now changing. Like, even the transition to the early days of the internet, where you switch from books to hypertext and links, and people stopped reading and they started skimming the
Yes.
content on web pages, right? And that's been like late 90s, early 2000s kind of a trend. So it's like 20, 30 years we're talking about with just the internet. So these trends are there, and they're now just being enhanced. It's not anything new, like I mentioned.
Because we are getting closer to the end, I have the last two questions for you. One of them is, with so many challenges in the AI space, what gives you hope about how children and young people are learning to navigate AI era?
Okay. So there's this concept that I'm a huge fan of, which is the growth mindset.
Okay.
If you end up guiding kids right, AI can be and is in some cases the ultimate tutor, the ultimate teacher, right? It can customize learning to a child's own pace. It can unlock creativity for kids who struggle with blank pages, and the potential for what I would call personalized education does give me huge hope. I'm also a fan of the concept of anti-fragility. This is Nassim Taleb's work around the black swan and anti-fragile. He's got a bunch of books on anti-fragility. Uh, Systems in general and people and children in particular get stronger when exposed to stress and to stressors, provided that stress isn't overwhelming. And this
Yes.
generation, more than anyone ever before them, is being forced to adapt to a world where truth is slippery, where you cannot rely on the fact that the job you have today will exist a year from now, where you're learning stuff in school and you're preparing for jobs that do not exist today by the time you finish school. So this has the potential to produce a generation of, I don't know, hypercritical thinkers, kids who are naturally skeptical, who verify everything because they have to. It's not because it's nice to do it, it helps to do it, but because you have to. You have to check everything. You cannot trust anything. You cannot trust video. You cannot trust audio. You cannot trust a photo or a TikTok video on the internet. How do you deal with that? And how do you raise a kid in that world? It's all about this kind of growth mindset and the concept of anti-fragility and of being able to easily adapt. And adaptability is a key skill in today's day and age. Not it's we're no longer living in a time where our parents or grandparents lived, where they got a job, they worked for 40, 50 years, they retired at the same job, and that's it. And they kept telling you, you need to become a doctor or a lawyer or an engineer. That's your future. That's the best thing you can do in life. We don't live in that world anymore.
Yeah,
And
it's long gone.
people that understand that uh, will thrive. People who cannot adapt to that will have issues, right? And it's all about that growth mindset and anti-fragility that I think will make a difference, if you will.
And my last question is, if you could leave our listeners with one mindset shift about AI and childhood, what that would be?
Uh, I think it's about finding that balance. Don't try to kind of ban the technology. It's like trying to ban the rain, right? Instead, build your child's raincoat. Build their resilience, their skepticism, their ability to think without the machine. And that's I think, the only future-proof skill that we have left. Also, it's all about protecting your data, your biometric data, your privacy, and your mental health aggressively, if possible, because you're constantly being bombarded with information from all over, and making sense of that information is a skill that's being obliterated. It's being destroyed. It's not slowly going away. It's fast. It's a huge, intense change that we're seeing. So trying to understand the world you live in and prepare to live in that world and prepare your kids to be resilient, to be skeptical, to use critical thinking, and to do it even without computers, even without your phone, even without the internet. How do you build that skill is what I think will make a difference in the long run.
Thank you, Tudor, so much for your thoughtful and clear-eyed look at the impact of AI on young minds. Your insights remind us that the goal isn't to ban technology, but to understand it deeply and use it widely. I really appreciate your time here, and thank you so much for honoring my invitation.
Thank you for having me.
It's always a pleasure. To all our listeners, we hope this episode gives you insight and tools to help you guide young people toward ethical digital path. Do not forget to subscribe and join us for more conversation that keep online spaces safe. Stay safe, stay informed. Bye bye.